set up. Okay, so I read a little bit of what you wrote, but if you could just maybe go over like what the point of this lesson is going to be again, that'd be great.
Yeah. No, and that was just like an outline. Whoa. I imagine due to how we both go off on tangents, that'll probably be weird structure. But yeah. So what our last lesson was like the beginning of December, I think.
Uh huh.
Roughly.
Something like
Sometime.
it was a couple months ago. Yeah.
So it's been like 3 months, and I've gone like back and forth where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I'm improving, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just not seeing where my improvement is, and a bunch of stuff like that. But I started to, I guess, in realizing my gaps of understanding, um, just wanted to like start from the ground up again. Because I've been playing this game since I was like a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a little bit, like, I did tech skill and stuff in like '06 to '08, but I didn't really think about the competitive mindset and like trying to, like, it was mostly just I move faster than most of my friends and people around me. And then again in like 2015 and 2017, it was a very similar case. Like, I knew what to do in certain situations, but I wasn't actively, like, a lot of the stuff that we talked about and that I see in a lot of your videos where there's a lot of like analytical neutral play. I guess like certain things, or a decent example would be like practicing out of shield options, but focusing on shine out of shield because I think it's so good. And then realizing that if somebody like crosses up my shield and then usually kind of immediately gets out of the way, the shine out of the shield is at best like wasting frames and at worst getting a punish. So a lot of it was around just some little tech skill I realized I was bad at. But in general, I just wanted to, I guess, talk about practice and the different ways that like you think people should go about improving, how you've done it over the years, and then maybe more specifically, like when you started to put more time into Falco in the last few months. Obviously, like going to the very bare basics of like a person new to the game would be kind of like wasteful of your expertise. But I imagine there are approaches and obvious situations in Melee that may not be obvious to everybody. So that's the overall chunk. And then I guess there's a bunch of questions.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, I don't know, part Q&A interview of what you think about how to improve. Like I like watching some of your labbing stuff, like the what was it? The laser out of shield to down tilt on Fox up smash, which is just like,
oh yeah, that was interesting.
yeah, labbing's really fun, but I don't feel like I actually carry it over too often. Most of my questions are going to end up being like, how do I understand from reviewing stuff and from like concepts and analysis what happened in a situation and maybe how it should be approached in the future, but I don't know the best way to practice said situation. And usually these are less punish, less raw tech skill, and more like more neutral really, and just like, well, how do I practice knowing what the good options are and then performing them? I know a lot of ways to do that too, but I want to just like hash that out.
Okay, so I'll just start talking about stuff, and then you can ask questions, or we can get in a discussion about it, or say like, oh, this is kind of the direction I want, or this is not really the direction I want, etc.
Oh, well, I mean, the starting direction would just be like, what do you think the actual fundamentals of the game are? Like, how do you define that word?
Like, what are fundamentals? It's kind of a vague term. I think people would like. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to use it too much because like I don't think there's like a super clear description of what it is. I usually like to break things more into specific concepts of like, timing or positioning or combos, stuff like that.
Okay, so that's a cool insight. What do you like about Falco?
What do I like about it? Okay. I can do this. This is I love Falco. Falco is the sickest character. So mostly, I think like the easiest way to answer it is to like describe like the differences between Falco and Fox that I found. So basically, I played Fox for so long because he's pretty sick. He's really fast. He has a lot of sick like movement options, and like movement is like my favorite thing usually. So I really like that, and then I really like being able to like shine spike people. That's always good fun. But then the reason I never really picked up Falco before is because he felt super slow. Like, you know, not only his jump squat, but like his dash speed and stuff like that. It just felt like way too slow after playing only Fox. But when I gave him more of like a serious chance, then I realized that like his speed is like, it is a downside that he's so slow, but at the same time he has like a lot more interesting moves than Fox. Like he has a lot more interesting ways to like string his combos together. And I'm always trying to do like DI reads with Fox combos and stuff like that, and like mix up people's DI. But there's not actually that many ways you can mix up DI with Fox, because most of the time you're just supposed to up air, and then by the time you're back airing, there's no like mix ups left. Like if you watched my VODs of Fox like the last like year before like quarantine or whatever, like COVID stuff, that I was doing like a lot of like reverse fairs and stuff like that, like just trying to like mess with DI mix-ups on people, and like so often it was just turned out to like be like, you know, not optimal. You might as well just react to every combo. And my combo game with Fox was never that great, and now that I'm playing Falco, I'm realizing that that's because it's not as fun to combo with Fox as Falco. So like my combo game with Falco is already getting really good, and it's just because it's fun to combo with him. Like I can actually do DI, like doing DI mix-ups is the correct way to play the character, rather than like just having to react to every combo with like the correct option that Fox has to do. And so like comboing is just way more interesting, and he doesn't have to deal with like the matchups that are like the most annoying for Fox, like Marth. Like that's a really fun matchup for Falco. Instead of having to play Fox dittos, you get to play Falco Fox, which is more fun.
Well, and you also like the Falco ditto, right?
And the Falco ditto is one of the best matchups in the game, yeah. So that one's really, really fun. That matchup's super sick.
Yeah, that one still confuses me a lot.
But... It's incredibly confusing. Every day I like play that matchup. I just left in shambles at the end. Like what? But that's a good sign. Like that's what you want. You know, you don't want a matchup where you're like, okay, like I know the game plan. You know, just execute, and it's boring. Like Falco ditto's like you're just like. There's so many ways that the situations can go, and it's just so complicated, and it's so easy to do things wrong that it's like a constant learning process. So I really like that matchup too.
Well, that's cool. I have a close friend who really hates Falco, and I've seen a lot of the, you know, it's net play. It's one of the most popular characters. There's a lot of Falco hate, and so I was trying to get more like, I guess, countering that. Like what's cool about Falco, which is usually I can just go to like Ginger talking about Falco, and that usually
the thing I always talk about is that there's actually two Falcos in the game. So there's a Falco who's like 5th in the game, about maybe 5th or 6th, and that Falco is the easiest top tier, and that is the Falco that like 85% of Falco mains play, and it's the Falco where basically, Falco has a lot of auto-execution tests with, like, laser down air in, and you have to hit your perfect, you know, shield grab or shine at a shield or whatever, or you're gonna just get hit by the shine after the down air. And so that he has that, and he has, like, a lot of, like, combos that sort of follow up to themselves pretty easily. Like, you know, people will do, like, a wave shine, and they miss the wave dash part, but then they just jump up afterward anyway and hit the person. And so he's very, like, forgiving in those aspects. And, like, a lot of people just play that Falco. And that
might be where I'm at.
That's easy Falco. And then there's hard Falco. And hard Falco is, like, debatably first in the game. Like, he's either first or second. Probably second, because Fox is, like, a little bit overwhelming. Just if played at, like, you know, theoretical peak human levels. Not even, like, practical human levels. But so that's why I think Falco's top 2. But at that level, he's the hardest top tier. Because you have to, like, when you're like, man, I did, like, a pivot laser, and I fast fell 1 frame early, so the laser was, like, not low enough, and then when they reflected it and I jumped over it and did my second laser, I got clipped by the laser on my jump over the power shield laser because I missed that fast fall by 1 frame. You're like, darn. And like that is like a completely different Falco from like when people are just laser and they just go in with an aerial, or they're just like down airing in place hoping that you run into it or whatever. It's totally different character. And I think that like so people just get used to playing against that dumb version of Falco, and it's really hard for noobs to deal with because like I said, he has built-in execution tests. Like, you don't have to put in any effort, and Falco can execution test your opponent. And so a lot of people just struggle with that, and they can tell that the opponent is literally not thinking at all when they're doing their moves as Falco. And that's very frustrating. And I remember being bad and being really frustrated at that too. So I think that's sort of the issue. And basically, like, if you're playing Falco and you feel like he's potentially the best character, there's a better shot that you're actually playing real Falco. And if you're like, dude, Falco loses to mid tiers, he struggles with mid tiers, I get bodied by Sheik, Marth is impossible, you're playing bad Falco, I promise. Like that's just the truth. Like if anybody thinks that Falco's just like loses to every top tier, they're not playing the actual character. They're playing the easy version of the character, who is like 5th or 6th in the game.
Because he just dies.
Yeah, because he just dies. And you just throw out moves, and you're like, dude, I did my stuff. I lasered and I down-aired, and I just died for it? Like, are you kidding me? This character is awful. But, like, no, that's not how it works.
What's your practice routine like?
Right now, or...
Well, I guess, yeah, over the years, like, I assume that, maybe I should start, I guess. My, well, outside of, like, friendlies and ranked tournament or, like, actual playing a human, my practice is usually just, like, a bunch of, it used to just be individual tech skill, but then I started to realize that, like, I wanted to have better strings of tech skill, and I could, like, accomplish more practice in a shorter amount of time in a way, you know? So instead of just being like, oh, can I do a dash neutral jump, Sammy aerial into shine on an opponent set to like grab? And it's like, yeah, I can do that pretty easily, but can I do that with like full dash jump towards with laser and like the different spacings of various things or such and such? And after that, I usually play around in a few situations that I've created in like Uncle Punch or 20XX, and then my only other practice is just like labbing out silly things in all the ways you can do like combo stuff with Falco. But so yeah, I guess that, and I tend to keep with that about 1 to 2 hours a day, less on the weekends depending on what I'm doing. But yeah, like, do you have an opinion of like a maintenance level of practice that you put in? I know some people just put in practice while playing, or, you know, like when do you decide and want to lab things, or how do you, like, do you shadow box? Have you tried to figure out what to do using that method?
Okay. Yeah, so personally with this game, I feel like I'm a little anomalous in terms of like my ability to like maintain tech skill, because like, you know, most people like I know will, you know, they'll spend time practicing tech skill and stuff like that, and I've never really had to do that. Like, there's been times where I won't touch the controller for 3 months, and I'll pick up the controller and I'll play, and I won't miss a ledge dash all day. Like, and so I think that that's not true for everyone, and you kind of have to find your own maintenance level of like, how much practice do I need to like stay in shape, basically. And so for me, practice has always been a bit more freeform, where okay, so this is the fiction method for improvement, okay? You look at what you do, you watch your VOD or you notice in game, and you say, I am bad at X. That's all you do. You look, you find what you're bad at. And I'm not saying, oh, I lost this situation. Losing a situation, it's kind of like, you know, what I do with people in lessons, right? Like, I'm not just saying, oh, you lost this situation, change this. Oh, you lost this situation, change this. I'm looking to see, like, what is a missing piece? Like, an overarching missing piece. Like, is there a move that you should be using more often in neutral that you're not? Is there a combo that you should be doing that you're not doing? Is there a matchup where you're spacing wrong? And so I try to identify these like larger problems, and then once I see it, then I will try to figure out what I can practice to fix that. Like, sometimes the answer is you need to play somebody who's a lot worse than you, and you just need to not pay any attention to the game except when you get this one combo, and just practice hitting that combo over. Like, like do your best to fish for this combo against this player who's a lot worse than you, and you'll beat anyway. And so, like, you can do that. And then sometimes I will find, like, a very specific frustrating issue with my tech skill, which is, so, like, right now, something that's kind of been eating at me is after I took this month-long break because I didn't have my controller. And something that has gotten a little bit messed up is my double shine wave dash timings with Falco. And the reason for that is that I spent so long, like, I don't ever lose the double shine timing for Fox. If I took a year off the game, I would be able to double shine wave dash with Fox. But I don't have that with Falco yet. So, like, the longer I take a break, the more my double shine timing reverts to Fox timing. And so I have to, like, right now, it's very difficult for me to do a grounded double shine consistently as Falco. And so to fix that issue, I'm considering, like, okay, like, if I was going to be entering tournaments and stuff like that right now. See, like, right now, like, I'm not entering, so I'm kind of taking, like, a more chill approach. But I know what I need to work on. But if I was entering tournaments and stuff, I would take, a few times a day, I would spend, like, 10 minutes doing double shines. And then that would usually be enough. So that's, like, sort of, like, when you're going to solo practice, I tell people, the best way to solo practice is, let's say you have, like, an hour a day to solo practice. You should solo practice 6 times a day for 10 minutes apiece.
Oh, I thought it was 15.
Doesn't matter. It's 10 to 15 minutes. I was just using that as, like, an example.
Yeah, the idea being that it's roughly the amount of time in, like, a set.
Because the thing is, because sometimes, like, I'll do... Well, so the thing is okay, so that's true in general, but for something like double shining, sometimes, like when I'm practicing multi-shining, my hand can get tired really fast. So I guess that's why I adjusted it to, like, 10 minutes, just sort of subconsciously. Because, like, I don't want to, spend so much time that, like, my hands are getting tired. If I'm doing, like, movement, like I'm moving around the stage, then I would say probably, like, 15 minutes. But...
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I get what you mean. Because do you think that, like, sometimes if you go a little bit too long, you start to, like, lose the tech, or you're not really, like, ingraining the movement because your hands are tired?
I think if your hands get too tired, that definitely does play an issue. I think most of the time it's not that you get worse, but I think it doesn't actually really help.
Oh, okay. Well,
so, like, if you go a few minutes over, I'm not going to be looking over your shoulder like, those 5 minutes just lost you 6 months of practice, dude, like, but it'll definitely be, like, I don't think that it's super, like, I used to talk to, like, Blur, the Crimson Blur, and he'd be like, yeah, like, I'll just sit on the stage and solo practice for, like, 5 hours. And I was like, I don't think that's helping you, dude. Like, and yeah, there's a couple things that you can get good by doing that, but stuff like that, like, I don't think it's, like, super effective. Like, I think the more directed your practice is, usually that's better.
Okay, cool.
So I think, like, in terms of improvement, you don't always need to be solo practicing. You only need to really solo practice when you know that there are things that you have to work on. So, like, the main thing is to try to figure out what you are. So I always tell people to try to find what you're the worst at. Like, find the biggest flaw in your gameplay, and then say, what could fix that? And then if you do the inputs that aren't that thing, and you do the better thing instead, you just got better at the game. Like, objectively, if you watch your video back, it'll be more, you are now playing more effectively than before, therefore you're better at the game. People want improvement as, like, they want, like, a whole layer of improvement at once, because, we get better in layers. And people want, like, this feeling that they're, like, better, and, like, the game just, like, they see the game different now, that type of thing. Like, they want that. And it's like, but you don't just get that. You get that from improving a bunch of little things over time. Always. You don't
Yeah,
just you don't just get like a whole layer. Like people be like, man, I want to be good at neutral, so I'll practice baiting. And it's like, no. You practice specific baits that you know you can do, and then over time your brain will sort of generalize, and it'll say, oh well, this is kind of like that other bait I do. Let me try that, and then you work on that bait, and eventually you have this big repertoire of baits that you use.
Do you or how do you feel about like or maybe I need a little bit more preface. Like, so when watching a video, it's pretty easy to see like, oh, I got stuck in shine turnaround, multiple times in a set or something. So that's a very obvious little like tech skill that I can go work on. And a lot of tech related inputs and the improvement around them, I think is they're a lot easier to focus on, or the path forward is much more obvious, right? Like, just go practice shine turnarounds a bunch, get used to the timing, and you should be fine over time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other things like it sounds like you're of the opinion of the like just singular focus when you're trying to improve one thing that might be like neutral related or more situation specific.
I usually have one or two at a given point.
Oh, and actually, yeah, because that was another thing. Like, how many things do you think are good to focus on? I often find my mind racing, and I just have to control it to like 1 to 3 things. Like
I never do more than 2 ever.
Okay, cool.
And usually when it's 2, it's like one. It's usually it'll be like I'll have like a thing that I'm actively working on that will come up a lot, and then like and that's normally it's 1, but then if it's 2, there's like this other thing where I'm like, oh yeah, in this one situation, instead of down airing, I want to down tilt, and like I can't like actively practice that over and over, but I'll like keep it in my mind of like, okay, I'm working on my one thing, but if this situation comes up, down tilt there,
Okay, yeah.
But I never do more than 2. More than 2, I feel like I personally start losing effectiveness, and I think a big trap, and I used to have this when I was, not as good at improving in the game, was like, I just wanted to improve at everything at once. I'm like, all right, I'm going to play this guy, and I'm going to get better at neutral, edge guarding, punish, and spacing today. And then I just play the game, and I autopilot for 3 hours, and I'm like, oh, I got so much better, and I didn't at all.
Yeah, I usually have 2 things. One that's an overall, like, general something that could apply to multiple matchups in the game overall, and then usually one matchup specific thing that I'm working on.
What do you mean by things that apply to multiple matchups? Like the shine turnaround thing?
Well, yeah, so the obvious like little tech inputs, but maybe general things like spending an entire match doing any other option from ledge that isn't double laser, because that's just like so heavily ingrained.
Right, that's
or
true.
Like, obviously if I'm going to do that, know which types of double lasers from the ledge are good and at what positions for the opponent and such.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Like, I don't actually side B from the ledge too often, and so that's been one of the general things. Like, I'm just gonna, for the next 10 games, only do that to think about it. Like, see what happens in all the different situations.
Dude, it's hard for me not to side B from ledge. Every time I get a ledge, my brain's like, do it, side B! It'll work! He's not ready! And I'm like, no, calm down! Like, think about this. Like, every time. My brain just screams it at me.
Wow.
I've had a bad habit of side being from ledge as Fox for years, so now that I switched to Falco, it's a good habit.
Yeah, and his side B's wow. But, yeah, and then it's usually maybe some other, like, matchup specific thing, because I usually think about improvement through matchups a little bit more than overall, even though I try to extrapolate them to like the other characters.
No, it's good to do it matchup by matchup.
Yeah, but obviously if I'm going into unranked, and that's the step at the improvement where I'm actually trying to, play friendlies or just random people to get that.
Yeah, if you're going on unranked and you're like legit trying to improve, I almost recommend quitting out on everyone except for the matchup you want.
Oh, okay. So that was actually
like, I don't want to say that too many times, because then everyone will just be quitting out on unranked on everyone. So like, keep it a secret, But
well, no. Yeah, usually I go into one of the many like Discords I'm in and hit up that specific character role to see what I can find, or at this
That's
point,
usually better, yeah, to like find somebody to play against. But if I can't find somebody to play against and I really do want a matchup, I will do that sometimes.
cool. So I think that kind of answered some of my questions about like how you would approach, like when I was thinking about the last lesson and the stuff about Sheik and like what to do under platforms, where to not be to get hit by like aerials off of platforms or needles. And I was trying to think like how can I isolate this situation to practice, because I may not find a Sheik online, or the Sheik that I find may not like set up that situation. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just been kind of like a nebulous question, because I could make a replay of like a Sheik dropping through a platform or doing an aerial, and I can do stuff around that, but I kind of wanted to
I
be
don't
like,
think those are that useful, especially not at like mid-level.
really?
Yeah. I mean, it can help you, but like okay, if it's helping you, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, But like that exact like I don't know that many situations where like setting up a replay outside of like edge guards, I think, like or certain like there are certain situations, but like if it's like, oh, I want to catch the Sheik coming off the platform or something like that, like I feel like it's better to just, have a buddy and just be like, hey, run off the platform and do this, and then like up tilt him or something. Like I
Well,
think
you
it's
set
better
up
to
like
have a human opponent do it.
like you can set up variations to the situation you're working on. So
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah,
platform, and then
it's not. It's the thing is, I get it, and it's not that bad. It's like it's very easy to like set up. Like the thing is that like when you're setting it up for like an edge guard or something, you know that they only have like three options in a situation or whatever. So setting it up to like randomly go between their only three options is like a good choice. But if your opponent has more options than those three options, you might be like training yourself to be a little bit biased over like how often and which situations can like occur.
okay.
It's not necessarily like don't be like, well, I can never
No,
use
no, I
replays again. But like that's like sort of just my opinion on it. Like I personally don't use those, and the times that I've sort of like I'll do like a lab thing when it's something like very specific. Like when you're
yeah,
like, okay, in this one situation, when this one angle happens and I am here, can I do this thing? And like that is the perfect time to use like a replay or whatever. Can I cover, both of these options at once? That's a good time to use like a replay.
okay. What do you think about thinking about the game in 15 to 20 frame chunks?
15 to what?
15 to 20 frame like chunks or sections.
I've
Like
never I've never heard of this. What is that? Like what do you mean?
it's something that I find myself going back to a lot, where I'm trying to think about like I'm not obviously I do react to things, but I don't feel like I think about the reaction to things, which I think goes into the like intuitive play you had brought up last lesson. And so I started to try and think of wave dash with falco is like 15 frames, and
Mhm.
so that if somebody was reacting to me going into or actually maybe I don't have this thought fully, I guess, but um when I think about the game in those segments, it feels a little bit more like a chess or something, or a strategy game. If I'm just
Mhm.
like playing out ideas in my head, trying to think about what to do in a situation, because I don't have that experience yet, or such and such. Whenever I'm trying to think about what the opponent can do and what I'm doing to influence that and everything
Okay,
else,
I think I kind of see what you're saying.
in
So
50 frame segments.
I think. See, are you talking about like reactability type stuff, like reaction windows?
Well, yeah, like what am I able to react to, and what do I have to like predict, or um what state will I be in upon reacting to some cue? Uh
Mm-hmm.
and it may just be that currently I'm at a focus of, reacting to things uh like what can I react to? certain jump distances.
Well, I think you want to think about like reactability. Like if you're saying like, okay, my opponent is gonna jump at me in aerial, so what is my reaction point to this? And
Oh
it
yeah,
you,
no, that's what I mean. Yeah, what thing do I have to look at to react to? Like
mm-hmm,
you talked about in the Falco's dash forward,
mm-hmm.
the whole like people are reacting to you either dashing or you in like a jump squat animation.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lessons
so I try
actually.
to like go backwards from when a bad situation happens, was I able to react to it? What was happening 15 to 20 frames ago?
Mm-hmm. I think that's good. The way you said like 15 to 20 frame chunks like it's kind of like the game is kind of fluid, and then like when there's a thing that you might have been able to react to, then you can like count the frames from that point.
No, yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. Like, it's not specifically like all those chunks overlay on top of each other, just various areas of going back the rough human reaction time, what was happening, and is it something that I could react to? Because I don't feel like I have a good understanding of all the things that I can react to, especially after looking at that. Like, I would have maybe more thought, oh, I see Falco in the air, that's when I need to react, but that's obviously like you can't. That's now a mix
Yeah,
up.
it's definitely okay. So what? Yeah, so it's definitely effective to think about reaction windows. So yeah.
Cool. Uh, what was the other thing? Oh, you covered some of the other stuff just with longer answers. Well, I was kind of going to ask about difficulty in focusing, but it sounds like you just are pretty good at difficulty in focusing on one or two things in a match when there's so many things going on.
Yeah, so the thing is like so I've talked about this a bunch of times, but basically like think of I like to so the analogy I always use is if you ever watched like Gundam or whatever with like the big robots, is that like your subconscious is basically the robot, like and then your consciousness is the pilot of the robot slash like the engineer. And so the whole point is like, if your robot can fly at 50 miles an hour, it doesn't matter how good you are at piloting it, you will never go faster than that amount. But if you take some time and you attach a booster part or something, maybe you can fly it faster. And so people have this idea that like I don't even know, but like their consciousness should be like kind of everywhere at once. But the idea is that like you are building systems into your subconscious. So like with your conscious effort of focusing on one or two things and maintaining conscious focus on those things, you can practice them and build them into your subconscious. Then when you're playing the game, you no longer have to consciously focus on them. The robot part of you will like be able to solve those without any problem. And so your consciousness is just there to sort of like guide you on like what you are focusing on or what you're thinking about, and then your subconscious does everything that you've already practiced. So when I'm focusing on learning something, you just kind of let your autopilot go. You let like the automated part of yourself play the game, and you're just sort of there observing it and focusing on like, okay, so now we're in this position and this is one of the positions that I was consciously going to focus on. So now I will like take control and actually feel the controller in my hands and practice that thing, and then I go back to letting my brain do its thing.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of what I expected. Um, I also had this idea that a lot of my kind of just general, or uh, do you feel that there is a way in? Well, actually, no. You probably, but just
Feel free to
question.
ask it. I can try to answer
Yeah,
whatever.
I often find myself questioning like, did the opponent just do something for no reason? Did they do it as a reaction like
Mm-hmm.
I did, or did they make some sort of read or guess based on my actions, or did they make a read or guess based on like general
Mm-hmm.
actions? And to answer a lot of those questions, I really like a lot of your commentary while playing. PB, I think, has been doing a lot of that lately too.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of wanted to try playing a match, hearing commentary, but then I'm on mute.
Okay. I mean, I'd be down to do that.
Huh?
I said I'd be down to do that.
Oh, cool. But and if you have any answers to those questions, but yeah, just basically getting into knowing what's going through my opponent's head actively was something I'm curious about trying. Just a fringe idea.
No, I've talked about this a few times, but I'm trying to think of a way to answer that really clearly. Because the answer I usually give is like, so,
Well, it feels like you would have to have a lot of data ahead of time. Like, I already have some issues knowing what things can be reacted to. I'm kind of rapidly picking that up in the past week or two.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a lesson that I gave, I think it was yesterday, and I was talking about how you want to find actions that you can do that require responses. So you want to say, like, I'm going to do this. If you don't do the counter to that, you'll get hit. And I'll get my opening. That is like, because and obviously not all of your actions can be like that, but when you find things like that, for instance, I'm going to, late aerial on your shield. And, like, therefore, if you don't shield it, you'll get hit. So the person so you want to find things where the opponent, where like, the opponent needs to react to what you're doing. Like, they have to. Because like you said, like, if you do a dash forward and your opponent dashes back, you don't know whether they're reacting to your dash forward or they just felt like dashing back,
Yeah, exactly.
But if your dash forward contained a threat that if they don't dash back, they're going to get hit, then you can know with a lot higher probability that they reacted to your motion to dash back. And so that's why there's sort of like, when you see two top players sort of play each other, there's always like this, like, the first match of the set is usually like a feeler match kind of. And it's because they're both seeing, like, they're both kind of checking, like, okay, so what response do you do to this? You only have two, and they'll do it, and then the opponent responds, and they go, okay, you've done that response now. So like, there's ways that you can gather information that are like a bit more like forcing than other ways. Whereas, like, if you're just doing dashing, a lot of times you're not necessarily going to get the information because the opponent might just not even be looking at you, But like, if you do stuff where your opponent, if they're not looking at you, they will simply get hit and die, then you either beat them or you see their response to your thing. And then once you... So think about it like that. There's this flowchart, right? Like, I'm going to do a forcing thing. If you don't pay attention to me and you don't respond, you get hit and I win. And if you never adapt to that and you never pay attention, I will simply win by hitting you with it over and over. And then if you do pay attention and you do respond, then I can now in the future do a threat of that same move without actually committing to it, and then manipulate you based on that. Because I know you're doing the response. Because if you weren't doing the response, you would die.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, no, I can get that. And if there was gaps, I can just go kind of review that. Pretty good at thinking. Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that, hearing your commentary while playing.
Okay, yeah, we can play a couple then.
Yours is, what, 3 Fs and then something?
FFF641.
And I'll mute myself.
Okay, and what's yours?
I sent it to you in Discord.
Okay. So do you want me to talk as if I'm talking to you, or if I'm talking to, like, the chat?
Ooh.
Should I be saying, like, this guy, blah, blah, or should I be saying, like, you, blah, blah?
No, you can say this guy.
Okay.
I can handle that.
Okay. Okay, so what's your code?
61, or, Womb, number 619, WOMB 619.
What was that?
Yeah, I'll type it in chat.
Yeah, that's probably helps.
Might be.
Nah, you're good. Oh.
Give me like I haven't played today, so just give me like 30 seconds to.
All right, you're good.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I'll change.
Oh, cool.
All right, I'll mute myself for the first bit.
Okay, you're gonna warm up for a second, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My text feels so bad. Okay. I still can't ledge dash with this controller.
Alright, I'm good. I might ask you to switch off of Falco if it's real bad, just because that's probably my worst matchup.
Okay.
Well, iffy, but...
Yeah, just let me know.
Alright, cool.
Alright, we gotta play to analyze now. So, let's see what he does. Okay. Nothing much happening yet. We're both just sort of moving around, looking for opportunities. Okay, gets a grab out of that. That down air made no sense. I was at a range where it was easy to get out of the way of the down air, and he just did it out of, I don't know, desperation or something. He should have just lasered. I wasn't directly pressuring him in the corner or anything like that. And yeah, those situations are pretty rough when like you get caught in the other Falco's laser pressure, and you just sort of have to try to work your way either to the platform. Like yeah, like right here, going to the platform is usually better than like just sort of hanging out on the ground and getting pressured. It's like notice like if he gets a laser on me, I'm not gonna like hang around. Yeah, and those nairs are kind of desperate. Like you have to be in a situation where like you're actually gonna get like a mix up or like a pressure on your opponent before you throw out a move. Like notice like I did a random down air there, but it's because I was close enough to him that I wasn't gonna worry about, you know, him just like dashing away or something. Like it forces an interaction, whether he blocks it or moves forward or backward. Like the interaction will happen. He can't just like move out of the way and not get hit. Dude, what is up with my shield drops right there? Yeah, I don't see a lot of like laser. His game plan in this matchup seems pretty weak. What he was already saying. Nice down air. He's shooting lasers a bit slow. Like he's not shooting them optimally quickly. Oops. Messed that up. Yep, happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to not play Falco.
Okay, well, what character?
Marth or Peach, probably good.
Which one do you want?
Marth. Let's just go. He's my best matchup.
Okay. Okay, I see those jabs. He's not doing enough dash pressure. He's kind of like dash shielding for some reason. I don't think those are super useful. Yeah, I definitely need like a lot more aggressive pressure from him in those types of situations. Like it's sort of like dashing in and out, and like looking for like approaching lasers and stuff like that is like really useful there. Like he's doing this kind of like dance around me thing, but then like when I'm whiffing, he's not actually punishing it, which he should be. Oops. I didn't think he had his jump. Yeah, he's not going for high value options. He's just sort of like going for options to try to like space me out. But he really should be going for like attempting combos and stuff. Like he should have definitely already been able to like combo me a few times so far. And yeah, just going for like raw aerials like that, like kind of like he did in the Falco matchup, is not that good. That was a good nair. Like I definitely would like to see more approaching laser and sort of like approaching aerial mix-ups from him. Now, dash dancing as Falco is really good here, guys. The issue is that he's not doing like dash back, dash in attacks. Like he's not like approaching aerialing or like getting anything super. Like see, like that approaching aerial is like okay, but ultimately like he needs like he's got to be doing something that like you want to try to trap the opponents when they're playing Marth. Like you want them to feel like they have no way to really get to you, and then when they do, then you just kind of kill them. And so like. Yeah, he's making me whiff a bunch, exactly. But he's making me whiff a bunch, but he's not actually, like, punishing it. And, like, he's just going for, like, those, like, random downers. Like, 2 of them have hit now, but I don't think they're necessarily very good. And, like, yeah, he's just not hitting me at all. Like, I bet I could just, like, kind of throw out random moves, and then, like, I would still win just because he's not hitting hard. Like, oh, he forward tilted me. Oh, no. Like... I should not be able to do this and then be fine. Like, this literally just shouldn't work. So I think, like, both, like, the punish... honestly, a big piece of it is just the punish, but, like, leading into the punish, too, is, like... I don't know, like, he needs to be going for, like, nair, shine, and stuff like that. Like, nair, shine, like, laser to pressure, then finding an opportunity to, like, nair, shine in, and then using that to sort of, like, open up combos and stuff like that. Like, I feel like he's just gonna, okay, good approaching laser. I thought he was gonna approaching downer out of that. Okay, nice. Comboing, much better. Not sure why he ran away out of his own combo, but he did. Seems a little bit vulnerable to, like, Marth approaching or, like, throwing stuff out. Well, yeah, don't you guys judge him. You guys aren't any better. At least he's trying to improve. Yeah, I need, like, more of, like, an edge. Like, there needs to be, like, a deadliness to his play that there's not. Like, it needs to feel like he's always trying to, like, knife me. Alright, that was good. That was definitely much better. And he needs to stay active more. Like, there was that time where he just kind of, like, chilled for a second, and there's no reason to do that. And, like, yeah, like, that nair, like, he needs to be aware of, like, the ranges that are good and bad, and then, like, you kind of want to, like... stay in, like, you don't want to be in the bad ranges for long, but that doesn't mean, you know, you need to be in the bad ranges if you're gonna, like, you basically get into the bad range, Marth will think he has an opportunity, and then you want to try to punish his whiff, and if you're not, if you're not ready enough to punish his whiff, you're not gonna be able to get much out of it. Deadliness? Yeah, it's like it's both like better punish game that he needs, and then also being able to like convert neutral situations into his good opening, which will lead to his good punish. Okay, good pressure. Should have probably down smashed or forward smashed me or something there. Not really a good reason to do the jab. He just felt like he was out of position, so that's why he did that. And the thing, okay, so when you do an approaching laser, the whole point of the approaching laser is to, like, when you think Marth is going to dash away from you. But if you haven't established, like, a threat of your approaching aerial, Marth will never dash away from your laser. Like, dash away only works, or laser, approaching laser only works when Marth is dashing away. Man, Marth is so easy. Yeah, he's just a little nervous. He's warming up. He said he hadn't played today at all either. He's just gotta, don't think too hard. Like, it's basically, like, it's better to do the correct options than to think really hard. Like, and obviously the best thing to do is to think really hard while doing the correct options, but if you know, like, what a good mix-up looks like, then you just have to do it. You don't want to pay too much attention to the point, yeah, like, he hit that downer, that was a good downer. You don't have to think too hard to get good openings. It's like, you want, like, basically, your base should be no thought, but using good options. And then, if you have that, then you add the thought on top of it. But people will, like, replace good options with thinking, being like, oh, I'm tricky. And, like, there was a thing I brought up the other day where, like, a guy was saying, like, oh, well, wouldn't the really good player do, like, stupid stuff sometimes too because it's tricky? And it's like, no, they don't, because, like, it's not effective. Like, okay, like, what was he getting out of those jabs? Like, he found an opportunity there, and he jabbed me, but it didn't actually get him anything. Does that come from experience? No, it comes from analyzing the matchup. You have to know, like, what your good options are, and, like, always be moving towards, like, a kill. Always. Even when you're in neutral, it should feel like... Like, think about Marth. Like, when Marth is coming at you, it's easy for Marth, because he's just like, I'm gonna grab you. And then once I grab you, you're gonna die. That was a good jab, because it was at a really high %. So he should be looking... Okay, I don't know why he got hit by that. You really want to stay... Like, if Marth is approaching you, you need to stay out of that range, and then get ready for... Okay, so this is good, but... Then he approaching lasered with no... There was absolutely no information that showed that I was scared of an approaching aerial. Only when you're like, dude, he's totally going to get out of the way of my approaching aerial. That's when you do that. Okay, good down there. Okay, good. Oh, he should have downered me. I think that was a mistake.
So that was actually awesome for me.
Okay, sick. I'm glad that was useful for you. I wasn't sure. I was like, I hope this is useful for him.
No, that was insanely useful. It reinforced a lot of stuff that I've heard other people when providing tips about my play. I am hella nervous and not at all ready today.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I could tell. It's okay though. As long as it's helpful, that's the important part.
No, yeah, like hearing it while I was playing, especially from like the third person perspective, you know, you're not like directly talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
That helped. No, yeah, that was really, really helpful. I actually wouldn't mind doing like most of a lesson like that. Or,
yeah, no, fine with me.
Like, back and forth or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like going back and forth between playing and like talking about it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that quick feedback loop a little bit more than like let me decide what sort of 14 seconds of a match I want to hear Fiction talk about for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I'm fine doing this too. So
yeah. Well, I know we're getting what? When did we start?
no, we
Like,
have 5 more minutes.
okay, cool.
We started at 2:08, so we're chilling.
Well, yeah. So, definitely that comment you made about you can autopilot and but just like or what did you say? Like just make good decisions.
Um, yeah. Like it's better to do the decisions. Like it's better to just know what's good and do it than to think too hard about it. It's obviously better to add when a good player is playing well, what they're doing is they know the things that are good, and then they're using those things in like really tricky ways. But at the base level, like let's say, you catch me and it's 4 a.m. and I'm half asleep, I'm not going to be tricky, but I'm still going to be doing the right options. And if I'm playing a good player and they are um, being tricky with their good options, they will beat me every time if I'm not being tricky with my options. But I'm never going to lose to a bad player just because I'm tired, because I'm always doing more effective options than them. So, like, you can just kind of, like, if like, man, like, dash back, dash in, approaching laser is really good against Marth, as long as I mix up dash back, dash in, aerial, then, like, at certain ranges anyway, then, like, if you're pretty close to him, because you want to be able to hit him if he dashes back sometimes with, like, if he does, like, a late dash back, you want the aerial to, like, overshoot, so it'll hit the dash back. So you don't want to do it when you're too far away, like you did a few of those, but, like, when you're really close, then you can do it. And it's, like, the idea is, like, if I am kind of like lost for ideas against Marth, I'm not just gonna kind of sit around and like wait and be like, I'll just look for an opportunity. I'm just gonna be like, well, I can't think of a tricky way to use these options, so I'll just 50-50 them and literally just choose one and do it. And like that's better than like not following the game plan.
Yeah, and a lot of that makes sense to me. Because there's some obvious things that I have in my notes, like doing high aerials from above, or just little like dumb habits that I haven't fully gotten rid of. But there are other little ones that I'm not fully aware of, like the comments that I've started to hear in like maybe the past month, which is like you were saying, I'm not really like when you just forward tilted me a bunch, and I was like half trying to whiff punish it, half thinking about like what's going to happen with this, or like also listening to what you were saying. But the whole like, oh, I hit you with a forward tilt, or I hit you with a jab, and the only jab that was really good was when you were at high percent, which I kind of know. But yeah, I do that like spacing a lot, where I'm just like, oh, my shine's going to miss, none of my aerials are going to hit. Habitually, jab kind of works out in this spot. And but I didn't pick the jab,
Right.
Jab is good.
Yeah, versus that forward tilt thing. Like, the fact that forward tilt thing was kind of working, like, the reason why I'm doing it is, like, it's an indicator that, like, you're not doing, like, a solid game plan, pretty much. Like, in the sense that, like, if I'm just walking at you and forward tilting, and, like, you are completely brain dead, and you're, like, talking on two phones at once, and you're not paying any attention to the game, you should still be able to hit, like, maybe half the time you just hit me for it, and then you combo me with, like, a down air or something like that. So, like, the fact that I'm getting away with it is, like, you're trying to, like, space safely and kind of throw moves out, and then, like, wait for your opponent to kind of whiff and then whiff punish it. But, like, really, like, whiff punishes are something... You don't look for whiff punishes. Like, you do your normal game plan where you're trying to make openings, and then when people happen to whiff, then you'll just reactively punish it. That's the goal.
Yeah, that was another good point, and I find I have trouble with that. Where you even said like, "Oh, he just stood there for a sec," and I do that because I'm not like innately aware of what should be done next, but I'm also aware that like my innate autopilot option is kind of just like not thought out. So I'm in like the standstill of, I know my default is not great, so I want to see what they do, but if I wait to see what they do, I can't, like, it's already passed. My action doesn't do anything.
Well, the nice thing about Falco, more so than other characters, is that, like, if you know which options are a good mix-up, you can do them. Like, because he has lasers, and that allows him to, like, control neutral so well, that like there's just so many spots where like if you don't know what to do, it's like just do the laser you know is really good, or do the aerial you know is good, and then just mix up. Like just keep like just don't do the same option over and over, and you'll be able to get like a fairly strong basis without, you know, too much thought. Like so it's mostly like the issue in these games was mostly that like you don't have like, you know, a good robot to pilot. So, you know, you're trying to pilot, you know, a mop with a broom on it, or sorry, a mop with a bucket on top with like a smiley face drawn on it, and you're like, this is my robot, and like I will max it out, and you're like, what? It's like you know that it's not going to do very well, and then so it doesn't really matter how well you know try to pilot the thing. So it's kind of like you have to figure out like what, you know, watch Mango, watch Ginger or something like that. Figure out like what are the options they're doing, like literally like button wise. Like if you're watching, like the way I got good at Falco Marth, literally, I just watched Mango's sets against like Zane or his friendlies against Zane, doesn't matter, and then I literally would just not look at Zane. Like I pretend that Zane is not there. And I just purely look at what buttons Mango is pushing. And then I just took the buttons that Mango was pushing, literally the buttons, like literally like I just copied the exact movements that he's doing. And then I would just do those movements, also pretending my opponent was not there, like in an actual match. And then I would do his dash back, dash in, approaching laser, and I kept getting hit out of it. And I'm like, is dash back, dash in laser not good? It's not possible. It has to be good, because Mango's doing it. And then I will look at the situation in which Mango does it, and I'll see, he's doing it when he thinks Zane is going to dash back. So now I have the correct technical pattern, and I have the position that I now want to use the technical pattern. And those combine into, you know, playing the matchup well.
It's weird how obvious things like that can...
When you describe it, they always sound so obvious.
Well, no, I definitely do both of those things, but not in that order or with a connection. Like it's just okay, why did the situation happen and why did it work? I've done tons of like analysis of videos over the years and whatnot just to look at things, and then I know like the copying the movement is just like mimicry to kind of get better and figure out like where stuff works. But I took the mimicry I was doing and tried to figure it out on my own, separate from the actual like analysis.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's just a lot harder to do it that way.
Like hearing you explain it like that made me go, oh wait, that opened up like 10 new possible ways that I can approach something.
Good. That's good to hear.
Well, cool. I think.
Yeah, now we're at about an hour. So.
Yeah, and I have to get back to the thing I was telling you about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, good luck with that. It was nice talking. I think this was a pretty fun lesson to do. So, and you said you could be interested in doing like a weekly thing, and that's totally fine with me. So we'll discuss it on Discord, and I think you already have the payment info and everything like that. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sounds good, man. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.